Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Look, the baseball world is buzzing right now, and if you're a Blue Jays fan, you need to hear this. There's a massive decision looming in Toronto that could define the next decade of this franchise, and I'm going to break down exactly why this matters more than you think. So the Blue Jays just came within one game of winning the World Series in 2025. One game. That's the kind of heartbreak that either destroys a team or motivates them to come back even hungrier. And right now, Toronto's front office is clearly choosing the latter. They're not sitting on their hands. They're making moves, they're aggressive, and they have two major targets in their sights, Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. Now, before we dive into the meat of this, let me set the stage here. These aren't just any two players. We're talking about two of the most productive hitters available right now, and the Blue Jays are positioned to land one or possibly both. But here's where it gets interesting, and where the real debate starts. Kyle Tucker brings something special to the table. This guy has World Series rings from his time with the Houston Astros. He knows what it takes to win in October. He's that proven postseason performer who could slot in as the number 2 hitter right behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr. On paper, it sounds perfect. You'd have Guerrero and Tucker forming one of the most dangerous 1-2 punches in baseball, the kind of lineup that keeps opposing managers up at night. But hold on, because there's another side to this story. Bo Bichette isn't just some random free agent. This is a guy who came up through Toronto's system. He was developed by this organization, reached superstar status wearing a Blue Jays uniform, and now he's out there testing free agency. There's history here. There's a connection between Bichette and this fan base that you can't manufacture overnight. Jake Peavy, former Major League pitcher who knows a thing or two about winning championships, just came out on MLB Network and made a really compelling argument. And honestly, what he said made me rethink this entire situation. Peavy looked at the roster construction and said something that actually makes a ton of sense when you break it down. He pointed out that Toronto already has Addison Barger, who has really established himself in right field. The kid came up and proved he belongs. So if you already have your outfield pretty much set, why are you chasing another outfielder in Kyle Tucker when you have a glaring need at shortstop? Peavy's argument is simple, but powerful. Keep Bichette in that Blue Jays uniform. Lock down the shortstop position with a guy who already knows the organization, who's already proven himself in that market, and who fits a positional need. When you look at it from that perspective, it starts to make more sense. Baseball isn't just about accumulating the best individual talents. It's about roster construction. It's about filling holes and creating balance. And right now, Toronto's need at shortstop is arguably more pressing than adding another outfield bat. But the plot thickens because Tucker isn't just sitting around waiting for Toronto to make up their mind. According to Jim Duquette, former MLB general manager, who still has sources all over the league, there are 3 teams leading this race: the Mets, the Dodgers, and yes, the Blue Jays. These are the heavy hitters. These are the teams with the resources and the willingness to spend big money. And that right there should tell you something. When the Dodgers and Mets are in on a player, you know the price is going to be astronomical. Both of those teams have essentially unlimited payrolls and ownership groups that don't flinch at 9-figure contracts. So if Toronto wants Tucker, they're going to have to outbid 2 of the richest franchises in baseball. Now here's where things get really interesting. There's conflicting information coming out about the Mets' actual interest level. Will Salmon from The Athletic went on Baseball Night in New York and basically threw some cold water on the Mets-Tucker connection. He suggested that Tucker is the crown jewel of this free agent class and probably has other options that might be better fits. But then he added this caveat that the Mets always lurk, they always linger. They check in on everyone, and they have the resources to make any negotiation interesting. That's classic Mets right there. Even when insiders say they might not be the favorite, you can never count them out, because Steve Cohen can just drop a blank check on the table and change the entire conversation. It's happened before, it'll happen again. So where does this leave Toronto? They're at a crossroads. They can go big game hunting for Tucker, knowing they'll be in a bidding war with 2 financial juggernauts. Or they can pivot, bring back the hometown guy in Bichette, address a real positional need, and maintain some continuity with a player who's already beloved by the fan base. The front office has to be weighing all these factors right now. They have to think about roster construction, they have to think about financial flexibility going forward, and they have to think about what gives them the best chance to get back to the World Series and actually win it this time. Think about the emotional side too. Bichette leaving Toronto would feel like a divorce to a lot of fans. He's been there, he's bled blue. When you lose homegrown talent to free agency, especially guys who became stars in your uniform, it stings. It changes the culture. Players notice when organizations don't retain their own. On the flip side, landing Kyle Tucker would be a statement. It would tell the rest of baseball that Toronto is all in, that they're not afraid to spend, that they're committed to winning now while Guerrero is in his prime. There's something to be said for that too. The reality is, both moves could work. Both players would make Toronto better. But the question isn't just about making the team better. It's about making the team better in the right way. It's about building something sustainable that can compete not just next year, but for the next 5 or 6 years. If I'm the Blue Jays front office, I'm listening very carefully to what Jake Peavy said, not because he's some oracle, but because his logic is sound. You have outfield depth. You don't have shortstop depth. You have a chance to keep a guy who's already proven he can handle Toronto, who knows the division, who has chemistry with the core players. That matters. At the same time, I completely understand the temptation of Tucker. Championship experience is invaluable, and pairing him with Guerrero could create one of the most feared lineups in baseball. Sometimes you have to swing big to win big. What's clear is that Toronto is serious. They're not content with almost winning. They tasted how close they were, and now they want to finish what they started. Whether that means bringing back Bichette, landing Tucker, or somehow pulling off both moves, this offseason is going to define the next era of Blue Jays baseball. And honestly, as a baseball fan, I can't wait to see how this plays out, because the stakes couldn't be higher.